Right now, somewhere in your life, there is a task you are avoiding. You know what it is. You don't need to think about it. It surfaced the moment you started reading this sentence. Maybe it's small, an email you should have answered a week ago, a form you keep meaning to fill out. Maybe it's not small, a conversation you've been avoiding with someone who matters, a decision you know you need to make. Work that will define whether the next year of your life goes well or goes badly. You've been meaning to do it. You have not been doing it, and when you sit down to try, something happens that you cannot quite explain. You clean the kitchen instead. You reorganize the folders on your computer. You do work that isn't the work. You have been told in various ways that this is a time management problem, that the solution is better calendars, better systems, better discipline. None of it has worked. The reason it hasn't worked is that procrastination isn't a time management problem. It never was. If procrastination were about time management, then procrastinators would be worse at managing time than non-procrastinators. They aren't. Research on chronic procrastinators has found that they do not differ meaningfully from non-procrastinators in their knowledge of time management principles, their access to planning tools, or their ability to estimate how long tasks will take. They know what to do. They know how to plan. They own the calendars, the notebooks, the apps. None of it changes the outcome. Chronic procrastinators aren't people who don't know how to manage their time. They are people whose brains treat certain tasks as emotionally threatening and who reach for the fastest available way to escape that feeling. The escape doesn't look like escape. It looks like cleaning the kitchen, or reorganizing files, or answering emails that aren't the important email, but the mechanism is the same. You are not procrastinating because you don't know how to work. You are procrastinating because your brain has classified the task as something to run from. The people who have done the most to reframe our understanding of procrastination are two Canadian psychologists. The first is Tim Feichel at Carleton University in Ottawa, who has spent decades studying why people delay tasks that matter to them. The second is Fuskia Sirois, who has extensively researched the relationship between procrastination and emotional regulation. Their combined research over the past 2 decades has led to a conclusion that changes how you should think about every time you have ever avoided something you knew mattered. Procrastination is not a time management problem. Procrastination is a mood management problem. Here is what they found. When you sit down to face a task that feels difficult, threatening, boring, or shameful, your brain generates a negative emotion, anxiety, dread, frustration, boredom that shades into a kind of low-grade panic. That feeling is genuinely unpleasant, and your brain, faced with an unpleasant feeling, does what it evolved to do. It looks for the fastest available way to make the feeling stop. Working on the task doesn't make the feeling stop. Working on the task, at least in the short term, makes the feeling worse. But cleaning the kitchen, that makes the feeling stop. Immediately, reliably, effectively. The relief you feel when you switch away from the difficult task and onto something easier is real. It is not imagined. It is not a moral failing. It is your emotional system doing exactly what it evolved to do. And it is the reason productivity systems never fix procrastination. You cannot manage away an emotional problem with a calendar. At the neurological level, this plays out as a competition between two systems. The first is your limbic system. This is the older part of your brain, evolutionarily. It processes emotions in real time. It responds to what is happening right now. It cannot see into the future. It only knows that something feels bad and something else feels better. The second is your prefrontal cortex. This is the newer part. It plans. It thinks about consequences. It knows that avoiding the task now will hurt you tomorrow. It knows that pushing through the discomfort will pay off. The prefrontal cortex is wiser. The limbic system is faster. And in the moment when you sit down to face the difficult task, the limbic system's proposal, let's just check email for a minute, arrives at your consciousness before the prefrontal cortex can veto it. By the time your rational mind catches up, you are already answering an email. You have not procrastinated because you lack willpower. You have procrastinated because a very old survival system just outran a much newer planning system that had no chance. And once this happens, it feeds itself, because the immediate relief of switching away from the task is followed, hours or days later, by a much worse feeling. The deadline is closer. The task hasn't been done. And now, in addition to the original difficulty of the task, you carry the weight of having avoided it. Shame arrives. Shame is more aversive than the original task ever was. So the next time you sit down to face the task, it now carries both its original weight and the additional weight of your recent avoidance, which makes the immediate discomfort worse, which makes the escape more appealing. which makes the next round of avoidance more likely. Research from Sirwa's lab has found something that most self-help content quietly gets exactly backwards. Self-criticism during procrastination episodes actually increases future procrastination, not decreases. The internal voice that says you are lazy is not making you more productive. It is making you more likely to avoid the task again tomorrow. You have been fighting procrastination with the exact thing that keeps it alive. The research on what actually works is not what most productivity content will tell you. The strongest predictor of overcoming chronic procrastination isn't better systems, it is self-compassion. Multiple studies have found that people who respond to their own procrastination with kindness, who treat their avoidance as a signal that something feels bad rather than as evidence that they are broken, are significantly more likely to actually complete the task. Not because self-compassion is a warm feeling that makes everything easier, because self-compassion reduces the emotional weight of the task. If cleaning the kitchen was your brain's attempt to escape a bad feeling, and the bad feeling was made worse by your relentless self-criticism about not doing the task, then removing the self-criticism removes fuel from the fire. The task suddenly feels less impossible, which makes the next attempt easier. The second thing that works, according to the research, is what psychologists call implementation intention. Not I'll do it later, not I'll try to do it, but at 4:15 p.m., sitting at my desk, I will open the document and write for 5 minutes. Small, specific, time-locked. Because the limbic system responds to specific present moment plans in a way that it does not respond to vague future ones. So here is what this actually means for you. The task you have been avoiding, the one that surfaced the moment I mentioned it at the start of this video, you have not been failing to do it because you're lazy. You have not been failing because you lack discipline. You have been failing because that task carries an emotional weight your brain is desperately trying to reduce. The question you have been asking yourself is, why can't I just make myself do this? The question you should have been asking is, what is it about this task that feels so bad? Because underneath every chronic procrastination pattern is a specific emotion. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, boredom that shades into meaninglessness, shame about a version of yourself you don't want to look at. That emotion is not going to disappear because you decided to buy a new planner. It is going to disappear when you look at it, name it, and take one small action anyway. The task is still there. It has been there this whole time. It surfaced when I mentioned it. It will surface again the moment this video ends. You are not going to fix it by watching another video about productivity. You are going to fix it, or start to fix it, by doing the smallest possible version of it right now for 5 minutes. Not because 5 minutes will finish the task, because 5 minutes is short enough that your emotional system cannot successfully talk you out of it. You were never lazy. You have been trying to solve a mood problem with a time management solution for years. Now you know it was never a time problem.